Sleep well tonight. A cozy bedtime story. Welcome to this cozy story, created by EpicListen, that's designed to help you relax and drift off to sleep. In this video, we'll take you on a soothing journey that's sure to calm your mind and body and help you get the restful sleep you need. Once upon a time in the quaint little village of Serenity, nestled deep within the heart of a dense forest, there lived a kind and gentle old woman named Nellie. Nellie was well known and loved by everyone in the village, for her warm and comforting demeanor, and the stories she would often share with the children. This story, crafted by EpicListen, will take you on a soothing journey to serenity, where you'll find yourself immersed in a world of warmth, tranquility, and the gentle whispers of nature. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, Nellie sat on her rocking chair on the porch of her cozy little cottage. Her eyes closed, she listened to the rustling of the leaves and the distant melodies of the birds returning to their nests. In the village, children were playing in the streets, their laughter echoing through the air, while the grown-ups exchanged warm smiles and friendly conversations. The scent of freshly baked bread and the comforting aroma of hot cocoa filled the air, making the village even more inviting. As Nellie rocked back and forth, the door of her cottage creaked open, and a group of children from the village rushed in, eager to hear one of her heartwarming stories before bedtime. "Grandma Nellie, will you tell us a story tonight?" asked little Emily, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Nellie smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and beckoned the children to gather around her. "Of course, my dear," she said softly, "let me tell you the tale of the Whispering Woods." And so, with the children nestled around her, Nellie began her story. Long ago, in the heart of the forest surrounding our village, there was a magical place known as the Whispering Woods. These woods were unlike any other, for the trees could speak, and their voices carried the wisdom of countless generations. The trees of the Whispering Woods were ancient and wise, their leaves shimmering with a soft golden glow that illuminated the forest with a warm, comforting light. In these woods, there lived a group of animals who sought solace in the trees' tender whispers and the gentle embrace of their branches. Among these animals were Freddie the fox, Ollie the owl, Betsy the bunny, and Daisy the deer. They all lived together in harmony, sharing the lessons they learned from the trees and helping one another whenever they needed it. One day, as the animals gathered beneath the canopy of the Whispering Woods, they noticed that the trees seemed troubled. The soft, golden light that usually radiated from their leaves had begun to fade, and their voices had grown weaker, barely audible even to the most attentive ear. Concerned, the animals decided to find out what was causing the trees to stress. They embarked on a journey deep into the heart of the forest, seeking answers from the oldest and wisest tree of all, the great oak. The journey was long, and the path was winding, but the animals pressed on, determined to help their friends. Along the way, they encountered many other creatures, each with their own stories and wisdom to share. The animals listened intently, soaking in the knowledge and understanding that would aid them on their quest. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the foot of the great oak. Its immense trunk stretched up towards the sky, and its branches seemed to touch the heavens themselves. The tree's leaves, though dim, still emitted a faint golden glow that cast a gentle light on the forest floor. The animals approached the great oak cautiously, awed by its size and ancient presence. Ollie the owl, the wisest among them, spoke up. "Great oak, we come to you seeking guidance. The trees of the Whispering Woods are in distress, and we fear for their well-being. Can you tell us what is happening, and how we can help them?" The great oak's branches creaked softly as its voice, though weak, resonated through the forest. "Dear friends, I am glad you have come. The Whispering Woods are in danger, for they have lost touch with the ancient wisdom that once flowed freely through their roots. To save them, you must journey to the heart of the forest and find the crystal spring. Its waters possess the power to restore the trees and rekindle the golden light within their leaves. With a renewed sense of purpose, the animals set off on their quest to find the crystal spring. Their journey took them through the deepest, darkest parts of the forest, where the shadows were dense, and the air was thick with an eerie silence. Despite the challenges they faced, the animals never wavered, bolstered by their friendship and the knowledge they had gained along the way. At last, they stumbled upon a hidden glade, illuminated by a mesmerizing, ethereal light. In its center, they found the crystal spring, its water sparkling and shimmering with a magical energy that seemed to pulse with the very heartbeat of the forest. The animals carefully gathered the water in a crystal flask, making sure not to waste a single drop, and hurried back to the Whispering Woods. Upon their return, they poured the spring's water onto the roots of the trees, watching in awe as the golden light within the leaves began to strengthen and grow brighter. The trees' voices returned, stronger and more vibrant than ever before, and they thanked the animals for their bravery and wisdom. As the golden light spread throughout the forest, it brought with it a sense of peace and tranquility that enveloped the entire village. And so, the animals of the Whispering Woods continued to live in harmony, sharing the wisdom of the trees with their fellow creatures and ensuring that the golden light never faded again. As Nellie finished her story, the children's eyes grew heavy, and their breathing slowed. The warmth of her voice and the gentle rhythm of her rocking chair had lulled them to sleep, their dreams filled with the magical world of the Whispering Woods. Nellie smiled, tucking a blanket around the sleeping children. With a soft whisper, she said, "Sweet dreams, my little ones." As Nellie gazed at the sleeping children, she couldn't help but remember the first time she heard the story of the Whispering Woods. Her grandmother had shared it with her when she was just a little girl, much like the one sleeping soundly before her. The story had been passed down through generations, and now she was proud to carry on the tradition. As the fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls, Nellie couldn't help but feel a deep sense of contentment. In the cozy room filled with love, warmth, and the comforting presence of family, she knew that there was nowhere else she would rather be. Outside, the night was dark and cold, but the stars twinkled brightly in the sky, casting their soft, silvery light over the village below. Nellie knew that the animals in her story were more than just characters in a tale. They were guardians of the forest and the wisdom it held, just as she was now a guardian of the stories that had been entrusted to her. As she sat there in the dimly lit room, she couldn't help but let her thoughts drift back to her own childhood. She remembered the countless nights she had spent listening to her grandmother's stories, curled up under a blanket and dreaming of the magical worlds she had created. Her grandmother had been a wise, kind, and gentle woman, much like the great oak in the story. Her voice was soothing, and her eyes seemed to hold a secret knowledge that she shared through her tales. Nellie had always felt a strong connection to her grandmother and knew that she had inherited her gift for storytelling. With a sigh, Nellie stood up from her rocking chair and quietly tiptoed across the room. She carefully opened a wooden chest that had been passed down through her family for generations. Inside, she found an old, leather-bound journal filled with her grandmother's stories. As she leafed through the pages, she marveled at the beautifully detailed illustrations and the elegant handwriting that brought each story to life. She knew that she had a responsibility to preserve these tales and to continue sharing them with future generations. Nellie decided that she would write down the story of the Whispering Woods, adding it to the journal so that it would never be forgotten. She settled back into her rocking chair, the journal on her lap, and began to write. As she wrote, she could almost feel her grandmother's presence beside her, guiding her hand and sharing the wisdom she had acquired over a lifetime. Nellie knew that, in some way, her grandmother was still with her, watching over her and the stories that she held so dear. With each word she wrote, she felt a deeper connection to the magic and wonder of the Whispering Woods. She knew that, even though the world outside her window had changed and grown, the timeless wisdom held within her stories would always remain. As the night wore on and the fire began to dwindle, Nellie continued to write. The words flowed effortlessly onto the page, and she felt a sense of peace and tranquility wash over her. She knew that her love for storytelling and the connection she felt to her grandmother would never fade. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the curtains, Nellie finally finished her story. She closed the journal, the leather binding worn and warm from her hands, and placed it back in the wooden chest. She knew that, one day, she would pass it on to her own children, along with the stories and wisdom that it held. She smiled, knowing that the legacy of the Whispering Woods would continue to live on, and that the golden light of its wisdom would always guide her. With a final glance at the sleeping children, Nellie decided it was time for her to get some rest as well. She quietly made her way to her own bed, the warmth of the fire still lingering in the room. As she lay down, she thought about the magic she had just shared with her young audience. The night had been filled with wonder and enchantment, and she knew that the children would cherish the memories of the stories she had shared with them. As they slept, Nellie could almost see the dreams of the Whispering Woods dancing in their minds, the characters and magical creatures coming to life in their imaginations. As she drifted off to sleep, Nellie felt a deep sense of gratitude for the gift of storytelling that had been passed down to her. She knew that, through her words and the love she put into each tale, she was helping to preserve the beauty and wisdom of the Whispering Woods for generations to come. The following morning, Nellie awoke to the gentle sound of birdsong and the golden light of the sun filtering through her window. The room was filled with the warmth and joy of a new day, and she knew that it was time to share more stories with the children. As they gathered around her, eager to hear the next tale, Nellie felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment. She knew that, through her stories, she was not only entertaining and educating the children but also keeping the magic and wisdom of the Whispering Woods alive. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Nellie continued to share the stories of the Whispering Woods with the children. They would often go on long walks through the forest, the children listening intently as she brought the magical world to life around them. As the seasons changed and the leaves turned from green to gold, Nellie knew that the time had come for her to pass on her gift to the next generation. She gathered the children together and shared with them the importance of storytelling and the legacy of the Whispering Woods. The children listened, their eyes wide with awe and wonder, and Nellie knew that the magic of the Whispering Woods would live on in their hearts and minds. As she watched them grow, she saw the seeds of her own love for storytelling take root and begin to flourish. And so, the legacy of the Whispering Woods continued, passed down from generation to generation, the magic and wisdom of the forest kept alive through the power of storytelling. Thank you for joining us on this enchanting journey through the Whispering Woods. We hope that the magic and wonder of the stories have touched your heart and inspired your imagination. If you enjoyed this cozy story, don't forget to subscribe to EpicListen for more heartwarming tales and captivating adventures. Sweet dreams, and may the magic of storytelling guide you through the night.